Assalamu alaikum. Let's cook. We're going to talk about a brother by the name of Anthony Ferril. Those of you who followed the original channel, you heard of him before. Now this is a very important story, and it's a lesson in this for everybody. For real. Racial battle fatigue, workplace discrimination, workplace racial bullying crisis. It can get serious. Now this black man, Anthony Ferril, he worked at the Molson Coors Brewery in Milwaukee as an electrician, okay? He worked there as an electrician, and he went into work and pushed 5 of his co-workers. Got them up out of here, 5 of them, yeah. Now people, first I must say, I do not condone taking a human life unless somebody threatened or took another life, or your life threatened your life, a close relative's life, you know what I'm saying? I can't condone killing other human beings in this case. People, if you get in an issue at work, I will hope that you think about something else, something that's more important to you, and don't go into work just clapping and pushing people. Think about your family first if you have one or some other things, you know? But I understand Anthony Ferril. I do believe I understand why this man flipped. Because just because I'm saying this and saying what I hope you don't do, that don't mean I'm in control of that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what somebody's going through. I don't know what somebody's going through, man. And we don't either. And I believe that Anthony Ferril was dealing with many years of systemic racial bullying, harassment at his job, from his co-workers, from the management, and things like that. Now, Anthony Ferril, 51-year-old black man, married, had children, son, 2 daughters. He was a veteran of the U.S. Coast Guard. He served between 1987 and 1991. He was honorably discharged. Now, he worked as an electrician with over 20 years experience with Molson Coors, Molson, or whatever. Okay, now this man, he was known by family, neighbors, and co-workers as a friendly family man. This is why, see, I don't feel bad for the people that he did this to. I feel bad for his family. I don't care about them guys, you know what I mean? Because I know I don't care about their families either. Now, the local news went out and interviewed some people and talked about this man, Anthony Ferril. Listen to the kind of person he was and let me know what you think.
Not commenting on a motive tonight, but police and city leaders are aware of the widespread comments that began circulating in the community on social media shortly after the shooting, suggesting that it may have been in some way racially motivated. That's the question for a lot of people this evening, people who are searching for answers, and so we asked Mayor Tom Barrett about those concerns. Mayor, can you address the widespread comments about a possible racial motive here?
Right now there's an investigation going on. I think it's premature to speculate on anything. I think this is the time to, again, be there to grieve and to support the families. I'm sure there'll be time in the future to talk about many things involving this investigation.
Now, there are still a lot of questions and a number of things that authorities have not yet confirmed. Here's what 12 News has learned so far. Police just confirming that the shooter is identified as 51-year-old Anthony Ferril of Milwaukee, an electrician at the Miller Brewery. Sources also tell us that Ferril had 2 handguns with him during the shooting, including one with a silencer. The Journal Sentinel is citing sources who indicate that Ferril had a long-running dispute with at least one co-worker, and neighbors tell 12 News that Ferril at one point believed the company was spying on him. And again, police are not commenting on a motive for the shooting.
And Kent, did police say where their investigation stands or what's next? They have so much ground to cover.
Yeah, they do. And no, they're not commenting other than to say the investigation is ongoing. We know that they're focused on Ferril's background and the search of his home, but the public focus for police, for city leaders, and for everyone connected to the Molson Coors community right now is on the victims and the families of those men who lost their lives in this shooting.
That investigation continues. Ken Wainscott live at police headquarters.
We are learning more about the shooter, Anthony Ferril. Our cameras captured police removing items from his house today.
12 News' Derek Rose is live outside the house. And Derek, you talked to people who knew Ferril and worked with him. How do they describe him?
Well, they describe him as a hard-working family man. You know, you mentioned police being here at Anthony Ferril's home all night into today. At some points, as you showed there, they were moving a lot of evidence from this home. But people who live in this community find it very hard to believe it was their neighbor who could open fire on 5 co-workers. The person they described to me as knowing is someone who was a family man, who was hardworking, but was working in an extremely uncomfortable environment. At Anthony Ferril's home Thursday, 12 news cameras were there as investigators pulled a tub full of evidence covered in brown wrapping out the side door, hoping to explain more about the deadly shooting at Molson Coors. But people who tell us they knew the 51-year-old claim he's not the type of person they thought would carry out a mass shooting.
Yeah, I would have expected him to be someone, to do that.
This woman who asked not to be identified claims she worked with Ferril for 3 years.
Hardworking, problem-solving, good person.
But there was one problem the woman told us could not be solved.
A lot of racial things there that shouldn't go on there.
What kinds of things?
People would openly say the N-word in front of me. Was incidents where we had a work meeting and somebody, put a noose in the bathroom there and, said something, and, no one should have to deal with that.
She told me she addressed the problems with the offenders directly, but regrets not going to management.
But I said it for myself, you know what I mean? You're not going to do that around me. Plain and simple. That's how you feel, that's how you feel. Some people wouldn't talk to me, after that.
Neither Milwaukee police, the FBI, or Molson Coors will respond directly to the allegations of a toxic racial environment. And back in Ferril's neighborhood, growing disbelief about the investigation still unfolding.
So I never thought he was in that where he would do anything like this. So, like I said to the kids, he maybe something went wrong that triggered him that way.
Derek, do you have any indication whether Ferril filed any complaints?
No indication of that just yet, Patrick. No response from Molson Coors. That former co-worker said she talked to the people who she heard using the N-word directly, but says she did not go to management.
Y'all see that? Great reputation, family man, good guy, great reputation amongst everybody. At work, at home, in the neighborhood, with his family. So what will make a dude go into work and do that? Now let's talk about this place he worked at. Miller Brewing Company in Milwaukee has a long history of job discrimination against African American males. Go to Milwaukee and ask some black men who may have worked there or been in there before and see how they felt about that place. Okay, now this is in Milwaukee, which is one of the most segregated cities in the country. Okay, it ranks as the second most segregated city between black and white populations. Not saying there's something wrong with that, but there's something wrong with the way they do it. Okay, it ain't just, segregation, we good right here. No, it's segregation. We're gonna suck you all the resources and make sure we give it to them. Okay, this is white man thinking. So when we say segregation, a lot of black people do prefer that, you know what I mean? But it's another factor to that. And I believe that this place, Miller Coors, is just a microcosm of this disgustingly racist metro area in Milwaukee. The culture of the city definitely trickled into the workplace. Okay? Racist white people in the neighborhood, at the supermarket, here and there, they create a racist workplace. Hard to work there for a black person. And this is Milwaukee, people, so the racism is presented different than some people may see it in other places. Who knows? Different than you may have dealt with, than other people may have dealt with, but this is real. And what will make such a good dude going to work and push 5 people? 4 white guys, 1 Latino white guy trying to act white. They interviewed his family as well, and they had his wife talking. I knew he was a problem because I could listen to what she said. She said, he was a great guy. He did this and that. I believe he was all that to the family, his wife and all that family. I believe all that. But when she said he would bring meals into the cafeteria and cook and serve them there, I know what kind of dude this is. You know what I mean? We know what kind of guy this is right here. Who's bringing meals, and he's bringing ethnic meals to the job and sharing it with these racist crackers at the company. Who does that? We know what kind of people do that. We've seen it before. We know what went on in there. That's why Jesus Valet, that's why he got hit up with the white dudes that he thought he was cool with. Yeah, that's what happened to him. So his family don't know that. They probably think, okay, well, we did hear him say stuff about, being around black people coming up or whatever, but they didn't know how serious it was. You didn't know Jesus was at work with these dudes really, really trying to do the racist thing. That's why he got pushed with him too. Could you imagine the racial bullying in this place? Terrible. This brother Anthony Ferril recently filed a civil lawsuit against Miller Coors' racist work environment. They're hanging nooses at work, hung a noose on his locker. He was rehired after he left the job, after the lawsuit, and these white racist men in this environment continue with this racist bullying and stuff like that. This is what the good old boys do at work, people. This is how it goes down, man. In these male-dominated environments, this is how this goes down. White boy harassment, hanging nooses, trying to intimidate black people, thinking everything is a joke, turning on racist TV shows and want to listen to, stuff like Don Imus and whatever, knowing what you're trying to do. This man, Anthony Ferril, was out on workers' comp for injury, and he said that the company was coming by to spy at him. He not lying. It's what they do, man. And this does actually happen. I'm reading right now. It says Miller Brewing Company, now part of Molson Coors, hired outside investigators to watch an employee in Ohio over a disputed foot injury in 2000. The employees sued Miller for a variety of claims, including a retaliation claim for surveillance, but none of the claims succeeded. Well, who do you think they sent out? Who do you think they spy on more at these type of places? They send their spies. Who do you think they spy on more? Of course, it's going to be black people, man. Anthony Ferril got tired of it. He couldn't take it anymore. And he selected the guys that he was going to take out. So this just wasn't a nut move. He actually said, I'm going to get him. They're the problems. If I got access to them this day, I'm going to push them. He didn't just go in there spraying like a nutcase. If that was the case, he would have went in there and hit up every white person or whatever. I'm surprised. What I'm a little surprised with this Anthony Ferril situation is I'm surprised he didn't hit a coon too. There's always a coon in there. I see you got the Latino. He's not white, but he ain't black. There's always one or two black coons in there. And they're a good lesson for some of you guys. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times you guys are responsible for letting this stuff go on, because sometimes, they like to put a black person in upper level management for the diversity calendars and stuff. And they say we got him here. And then when this stuff is reported to these black people, they will make an excuse for these white guys. Let it go. I'm surprised he didn't push one of y'all. And I would have felt the same way too. I don't care about I don't care. Because I understand with Anthony Ferril. I get it. A lot of you all get it too. So in these situations, when they have this going on with this workplace harassment and bullying, the culture of racism is never addressed. If anything happens, they'll go hire somebody, a contractor, to come in, and they'll, say, oh, we did diversity training, make sure everybody signs off on it to say they got it, so they could present that to a law firm or whatever, or somebody if they're being seen. Look, all these guys we had that we doing something about. Nah. That's all they do. They don't take it serious. Then you got these racist white bullies at work. They're clicking up, nooses, all kind of stuff. And let me tell you something, right? I've seen white guys bully other white guys more than any. And see, the thing about white bullies, they don't stop. It's just like those kids in school. Like when you hear about black kids going through school, kindergarten through, the white bullies never stop. Same thing with adults. I've seen them bully other white people. And I've seen it in an environment where you got a lot of guns and a lot of bullets. Unlimited guns and bullets. So you got to be careful and you got to be humble. So this one dude I knew, white dude, right? He was a different kind of guy, but he was all right with me. He was a sharpshooter. He actually became like a firearms instructor at the training site. Okay. So when he went out there to work, right, there was a clique of white guys thought they was cool. thought they had their little thing going on, white guy clique. They started messing with this dude, you know, bullying him or whatever, because he didn't really hang with them. He did his own thing. He had his own ways or whatever. He didn't mess with nobody. He was normal, but he was different than them. I was always all right with this guy right here. We always, you know what I mean, seeing we talk or whatever. And they just kept at it, kept on messing with this dude. And he told these guys, real calm, he told them that he was going to put some holes in all of them. And they knew he was very capable at hitting them like he could shoot their eyeball. He was the type, he was a real sharp shooter. Like he was real nice with the handgun, real nice. Like he could put bowling balls on, you know, he could put that on all their heads from a distance if he wanted to. Then after that, he tells them that. Then they want to go to the higher ups and talk and cry and pal over here. You know what I mean? Then they want to say, oh, you got to do something about this guy. Then a level-headed person, actually a black man that I knew, went to go talk to the white guy and kind of keep him under his wing, calm him down a little bit, because he was going to take it all the way there. He would have blew each and every one of them away, all of them, and I wouldn't have felt nothing. I would have been like, dang, now he's not going to see his wife and kids no more, him. But them, I don't care, man. It's like I don't care about these guys who Anthony Ferril did this to. My thing is, I just wish, I know his family cared about him and wanted to see him. I wish he didn't do it for that reason, but I'm not in control of that. You know what I'm saying? And these people, obviously they see now they're not in control. That's why you got to be humble. They don't believe in the creator. They don't believe that any minute now we could be gone. They don't see it like that. They think that they can go ahead and bully. They don't think that somebody else may look at it like, okay, well, I'm going to do something to you. This is how white supremacists think. White supremacist bullies always want to joke around and play. They're not humble. They don't believe in the creator. They don't believe that Allah is in control. They don't believe God is in control. You know, this is how white supremacists think. And, you know, humble people, we know that it can happen to us any day. And we have some control, but you're not in the ultimate control. These are guys right here who probably went out and got season tickets to the Green Bay Packers. They thought they was going to go out there tailgating and all that. That's what they thought. They thought they was going to keep going to work and doing this, and all the season's coming up. They're going to go out there and put whatever kielbasa on the grill. Nah, you up out of here. Because Anthony Ferril said, I'm tired of it. And this is what happens. You know what I mean? Oh, you can't do that. Somebody call you the N-word. You can't respond. Why can't you? Anthony Ferril did. So you don't know what somebody's going through. You know? All that bullying and racial bullying and not being humble. And black people, you know what I'm talking about. Actually, I'm going to just say white people know what I'm talking about. Who go through it with bullies. But that's nothing compared to racial bullying. Because when it comes to racial bullying, guess what? Those black people in certain positions, whether it be human resources, EEO and other, they're not going to listen to you either. They're going to expect you to just go ahead and take it and, you know what I mean, and do this and whatever. If you try to push it somewhere that it's never been, they're going to look at you like, I'm talking about the black ones too. So I don't know what this man was going through, man. You know what I mean? These sleazeball guys probably been bullying people their whole lives. I don't care if their family misses them, because they may not know it, but their dad, their brother, their husband, son, or whatever, who got pushed by Anthony Ferril, you know, he didn't even think about them, because if he was thinking about them, he would have thought about the possibility of not seeing them, because bullying could lead to this. So he wasn't even thinking about y'all. You know what I mean? He was on his high horse, feeling good at work, getting promotions, thinking that he could take long breaks, looking at the internet, you know, on his 20-minute breaks, getting tickets to the Green Bay Packers and all that other stuff. Yeah. On his high horse. But it is what it is. But this brother Anthony Ferril, condolences to his family. Anyway, people, easy.